I never knew nothing about human trafficking. I never knew that I was being exploited. I didn't wake up and be like, oh, this is what's happening to me. It's something that I thought was normal.
80,000 reported missing people on any given day in the United States. At the same time, there are over 10,000 unidentified bodies. There is no national law requiring agencies to share this information, leaving many families in the dark about their loved one's fate.
Today, family and volunteers, they reported cadaver dogs detected a few locations where human remains might have been buried.
You could have a body that was on one side of a county line, and the next county could have had that individual reported as missing. And no one may have talked to each other.
And we just haven't forgotten, and we're not going to stop until we know what happened.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Gone Missing Pod. My name is Nicole Mercado, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Alyssa Gutierrez.
Hello, everyone.
How's everything going?
To be honest, you know what's so funny? Like, now that we keep talking about our habits and cycles of we're up and we're down and we're up and we're down, I'm like, I don't know what to say anymore.
Right.
Okay, so it technically, you guys, for us, it's a Friday.
Yes.
It is just end of the week energy.
For sure.
I can't do anything about it. This morning I was like energetic.
That's because you knew it was Friday. That's because you knew that you were coming up to your weekend.
Well,
it's like the false sense of excitement.
After work, my body was like, we're done. We are now going to proceed to get a sore throat. And I'm like, where are you even coming from? I was feeling fantastic all day. Why are you here?
I'm saying.
And yeah, there's just this strong desire to nap, okay?
I feel it so hard. I literally text Alyssa, I'm like, we're going to have to cut out so many yawns this episode because I am so sleepy. Because, like, obviously, you know that Alyssa and I both have animals. I have 2 dogs. She has 1 dog. And Mowgli's got allergy things going on right now. So he's like constantly licking, scratching, itching, all of the things. And it's because he gets like this allergy like shot. The vet like recommended it because his dog also had it, and it really does significantly help. Well, it's now worn off. So he's like been up 4 or 5 times a night, and he's just uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, so he's chewing and then he's moving and trying to get comfortable again. But in the process, he wakes me up, he wakes Pepper up, he wakes Mike up, and I'm like, if I don't get some sleep, I'm gonna lose my shit. Because waking up 4 or 5 times in the middle of the night is horrible. I don't have a child. Why am I waking up 4 to 5 times?
Obviously we love our animals, but yes, over your animal, no, absolutely not.
Exhausting. And it's like the first night
I would be like, you need temporary housing until you fix yourself.
All right, so let's get into our episode for today. 36-year-old mother of 2, Viridiana Maldonado, was last seen on October 11th, 2007 in North Charleston, South Carolina. She worked at La Nortena restaurant, which was on Rivers Avenue, and had just finished her shift. It looks like she was working the night shift because she was able to get back to her apartment sometime between 10:30 and 11 p.m. before changing her shirt, but left her pants on. So maybe she was just like running to go do something. And, I feel like a lot of times if you work in any sort of restaurant, if you don't have necessarily a specific uniform, I've done that where like if I just had a shirt that I had to wear, I would just change my shirt really quick and just leave the pants I had on, because I hate when I have to have multiple clothing like in a day. Like it really annoys me, especially if it's that late already, to be like, great, this is just one more piece of laundry that I have to do. And it's almost the end of the night. So how long realistically am I going to be wearing this other top?
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like sometimes when you're working in a restaurant, usually you just have a shirt, like a polo, a button down,
right,
or like a t-shirt. So it makes sense just to change that, put on what you want to go out in and go. Yeah, for sure.
So she shared the apartment with her children, her mother, and her sister. Viridiana told them that she was going to go out with her sister-in-law, Vicki Roberts, but has never been seen again. So a little bit about her. She actually grew up in Santiago, Colima, which is on Mexico's Pacific coast, but arrived in the U.S. 8 years prior, staying briefly in Los Angeles before going to South Carolina, where she had family members. Somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, Viridiana's family received text messages saying that she was drinking downtown with someone named Miguel. Later, messages said that she wasn't feeling well and she was going back to Mexico, and there has been no activity on her phone since then. This is already kind of strange, right? She's going and drinking with someone that they're not necessarily familiar with. They don't necessarily know. And then to be like, I don't feel well, I'm going back to Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, that's a red flag for me, because is it normal for her to text her family saying, hey, this is what I'm doing with who? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and she has
at
kids.
1 or 2 in the morning. Like, I feel like if she's established this habit, hey, you know, communication, letting you know this is where I am, who I'm with, and that's normal, great. But I mean, even when you and I stay in contact, I'm not texting you at 1 or 2 in the morning, hey, I'm at this place. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and here's my thing. I can almost understand like why she may have communicated who she was with, because she has kids. And so they all live together. So that would make sense to me. The strange part is when she said she's going back to Mexico, South Carolina is over 20 hours away from Mexico. What do you mean you're just going back to Mexico?
I know.
That's not like an average thing. So when questioned, they actually did go and question her sister-in-law, and she said she was never with Viridiana on the night of her disappearance. And in fact, they hadn't even seen each other for 2 weeks, and doesn't know why she would have said that they were together that night.
Oh, interesting.
On October 17th, a person closed Viridiana's bank accounts by telephone. A cashier's check for the balance of the account, which was about $1,000, was then sent to Tacoma, Washington, where Viridiana used to live with her estranged husband, George Maldonado.
Now, in order to do, I don't know any bank that, I guess close an account by telephone. Yeah, they would. But only for her. Like, that person that called has to be on the account.
Well, the female has to be. I'm sure they knew that she was a female, and a female would have to close the account. That doesn't mean they knew it was her. Her husband would have the information.
That's true. Like, you give them your debit, your number, your social, and they're like, okay, it's you, and they trust you.
Yeah. And technically,
it's somebody who has access to that
yes.
confidential information.
Correct. They had gotten married, and I should say that I'm saying George Maldonado. It could be Jorge, but I'm not 100% sure. So they were married in 2005, but then they separated, and she moved to North Carolina about a month before her disappearance with her children. Investigators do not believe that she left of her own accord, and her family says that she did not normally communicate with text messages. She did ask about her 2 young children in the messages, but did not take any belongings with her when she left, and her family does not know anyone named Miguel. In October of 2008, investigators named George as a suspect in her disappearance. A little bit about their relationship. It was very rocky. There were several domestic violence incidents, 3 that were an arrest. 6 days after she went missing, Maldonado came and took their son and returned to Washington. Now, Viridiana had 2 children. One was from a previous relationship, the older one. The younger one was from her marriage with Maldonado.
Yeah, I feel this is a breadcrumb trail. The money goes to Washington. He goes to Washington. I mean, can we paint a red bullseye on him, please?
So, using phone records, law enforcement determined that it was Maldonado who had closed her bank account and taken the money. Right after that, he took their child and moved to the Dominican Republic guilty. After the disappearance, and then entered a custody battle with her family over their son because he took him to the Dominican Republic without letting anyone really know.
Guilty, guilty, guilty. I can't remember. Is Dominican Republic no extradition?
That I'm not sure of,
Country?
but anywhere you go that's not here, it's just harder. You know, it's
Well,
like when we say
100%.
we've seen, you know, they go to Mexico and it's like the problem is that the law enforcement there may not be taking things the way that our law enforcement takes it. And I don't know if he was from the DR originally, and that also could have something to do with it, because a lot of times, you know, they also want to protect their citizens. That's where it gets complicated, you know? This all is happening. They're now fighting over custody. Doesn't want to bring his son back. However, in November of 2008, so she was last seen in 2007, so a little over a year later, in 2008, he travels back to the U.S. for a custody hearing and then was arrested on federal drug charges immediately after arriving into the country.
Well, good. It's not the crime we wanted, but it's better than nothing.
Right, exactly. So I think that part of this is like, and I don't know if he was trying to quote unquote like be not accommodating, but like going and doing the custody battle. It seemed like he was trying to go the legal route that way. However, getting up and taking your kid to the DR, I understand that like you don't need his mom's permission because she's not there, but that's a lot of things to be happening at one time.
Can you imagine how traumatic
Oh my God.
that is for the child?
And he was little, but I'm thinking also like
Trauma, you know, like just because they can't, even if he is not verbal, trauma's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I also think
his brain is absorbing everything that's happening.
Yeah. And I also think for me, it's like not even just that. Think about the effect that it's having on his brother, who's older and knows what's going on, knows that something happened to his mom, knows that his brother has been taken by his stepdad.
Oh my God, that poor child. Both of those poor children.
It's just a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In 2008, Viridiana's family was actually interviewed by the Post-Courier about their loved one. So they actually were able to get some media coverage, which was great. And a lot of what I am going to be taking from right now is from that. Quote, "We've gotten phone records, we've gotten bank records," said Detective David Watson, a North Charleston police investigator, "and we've got a lot of circumstantial evidence against the husband." So this happened right before, it looks like at least pieces of this article happened right before he came back and got arrested. Her family said that she met her future husband in North Charleston 5 years before, and they appreciated a lot of things about him. So I guess he was really intelligent, had quick wit. He did not drink, which they loved. And then they moved to Washington State while he was stationed with the Army in Fort Lewis near Tacoma. However, while they were out there, their relationship seemed to completely fall apart. Her family said that he became very, very controlling and wouldn't even give her money to like buy groceries, and things got so bad that she went to stay in a women's shelter for 3 months in 2007, right before she decided to move in with her family.
Wow, that is crazy. And just that statement that you said, like the family liked that he did not drink. And, you know, I do think abuse goes hand in hand with alcohol abuse. So the fact that he didn't check that box and he's still that awful of a person.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think that obviously any sort of abuse of alcohol or drugs can alter your state of being. And then there's just some people who are just bad people. And he's just a bad person. So in December, he told police he was in Washington State when his wife disappeared. But because of the evidence they had gathered, they actually found that he had drove to South Carolina right around the time that his wife went missing.
Ooh, good. Good.
So when they confronted him, his demeanor completely changed. Quote, "He didn't have any good answers for our questions," said Watson, the North Charleston investigator. "Once we presented him with that information, he became very scared, ended the interview saying he had to be at work." Police in Fairview Heights reported questioning him in a motel parking lot on October 11th, and he said he was traveling to Washington State from his home in South Carolina. Cell phone records showed, however, that he was progressing in the other direction, south from Chicago to Charleston through Kentucky, Tennessee to North Carolina. Detectives also learned that the couple spoke by phone the same day that she disappeared. Watson said, Maldonado told detectives that someone else must have had his car and cellular phone, and he could not remember whether he loaned them to anyone or not.
Oh my goodness.
It's just like such bullshit from the top,
I
right?
mean, yes.
Like,
How intelligent do you think you are?
it's just, and that's the thing. It's like, you're not good at the lie. And then to say, like, I don't know who I gave it to. Who would call your ex-wife or your estranged wife? Like, and here's the thing. My thing is, they have a child together. So it's not even strange to me that they would have spoken that day because they have a child together.
Right.
So I feel like it's even more suspicious to be like, oh no, I didn't talk to her. Somebody must have taken my car and my phone and talked to her. What? You didn't notice your car was missing for however many hours?
Right. As well as your phone.
As well as your phone.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre to me. And what this tells me is, like, when they said that they got the text message from Miguel, it almost feels like it was kind of trying to send them off in a different direction, but maybe they spoke and she was willing to speak with him. I mean, we see this all the time, is that it takes women on average 7 times to leave their abuser fully. And maybe he said that he wanted to talk to her about their son and about custody. You know, like, it could have been something just as simple as that, but unfortunately, men like that who are violent and abusive will take any opportunity to try and get what they want. And if they can't, then they will make sure nobody else can have that. So Howie Coleman was actually a local private investigator who began working with her family, with Viridiana's family, saying that he's positive members of the public have information that could help solve the case. Quote, somebody has to come forward at this point. If they're afraid they need to come forward, just tell us where to go and we'll go there. Outwardly, Viridiana's mother, Lilia Michelle Guerrero, appears focused when talking about the custody battle, but she's always thinking about her missing daughter. The ordeal has turned her into 2 separate people, calm on the outside but suffering on the inside, and she points at her head and says through sobs, in every moment she's here. Her estranged husband is currently incarcerated on those drug charges, as we talked about earlier, and his sister was actually given custody of their son. Viridiana's mother was granted visitation rights, however, but Maldonado has not faced any charges in connection with his wife's disappearance at this point.
I don't see how they have so much on him.
I feel like it's the case of it's all circumstantial. There's no DNA, there's no hard evidence because there's no evidence that they were really together. And that's why I think that the private investigator was trying to say, hey, we need you guys to come forward, because without that, without someone saying we saw them together, it's all circumstantial. And again, we talked about this last week. If they don't think they have enough, they don't want to press charges, because if they lose and then something comes up later and they want to try again, there's very, very few cases where they can actually try again. Foul play is clearly suspected in her case. She went missing on October 11th, 2007 from North Charleston, South Carolina. At the time when she went missing, she was 21 years old, and she would be 36 now. She is 5'4" and 115 pounds. She went missing in a pants and shirt. She's a Hispanic female with black hair and brown eyes, and is a native of Mexico and speaks Spanish.
This one's so frustrating today. Like,
I know.
I don't know. I feel helpless, and I'm not the family, how the family feels. And I don't know. This one just feels unnecessarily like we got him. You know what I mean?
Right.
We know it was him, and there should be justice here.
Well, and the thing is, she was so young when she met him too, because they said that she had met him 5 years before. So if she met him 5 years before, she was like 16 or 17 when she met him. And so it's just like she was so young, and then this is just such heavy things for her to deal with. She already had a child previously, and then she has another child. So she's just a young mom trying to make it work. And then to, know that she has to leave, know that she has to go to her family, and she does all of that, and still he manages. I mean, this is purely my opinion and speculation, but he clearly had something to do with her disappearance.
Right.
So I want to thank the Charlie Project as well as the Post and Courier for all the information I was able to find today. Viridiana's family is still looking for answers, and if you have any information, you can call the North Charleston Police Department at 843 554-5700. Thank you so much, Alyssa, for joining me today, because I know her case was definitely a rough one.
It was, but no, I appreciate you bringing her case forward so we can get her this attention that she deserves. You know, her family and those children they deserve peace. They deserve healing. They deserve to move forward. And that man deserves to rot in prison for the rest of his life.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're so appreciative of our community. We love you guys so much. And without you, we would not be here. Thank you to the Mercado Airwaves Network for hosting us each and every week, as well as to our wonderful editor and producer, Mike Mercado. And thank you to my fabulous co-host, Alyssa Gutierrez. I appreciate you so much for accommodating me, even when I had to eat a really quick dinner before we recorded, so I was 5 minutes late.
I love it. That was a full name appreciation. Thank
I so appreciate
Nicole Mantra Mercado.
All right, everybody. If you want to learn more about her case, see her photo, you can go to Instagram and Twitter at The Gone Missing Pod or Facebook at The Gone Missing Podcast. You can also become a patron on Patreon at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. We appreciate you, and we will check back in with you on our next Mini Missing Monday. Thank you.